Okay. Hi, Rio. This is Cameron,
Hey.
and Raya, and we're going to give the two of you feedback for your Yom Tnuah session. And then, even though you're not here, we feel your presence with us. So, firstly, I want to say, Kol ha-fucking kavod. You guys pulled off a great peula, and I'm really proud of you guys. Mamash, it was a great way to end the year. Um, and I think that taking into consideration the fact that you were both like on Sikum Tiul while you were trying to plan it, it worked out very well.
Thank you.
That being said, I do need to give you some criticism and say that you had 2 weeks to write this pula, and you did it last minute, which specifically to you, Aaron, is a pattern because this was the attitude you had during World Movement Seminar as well, and you gotta fix your act up. Working last minute adds stress, it lowers the quality of your pula, and it doesn't enable the staff person or anyone else for that matter to give you proper support throughout the way, like we couldn't discuss it back and forth and because everything was so last minute. Aval, you seem to be able to pull things off last minute with high quality, so good for you. Okay, your trigger. Do you remember what it was?
It was giving people little strips of the Netza platform and asking them to act it out.
Each person got a different part of the platform.
Mhm.
So there wasn't necessarily the big picture of the platform all at once. I thought that Rio, when she explained the general task, should have explained more what Geula is before she split us all up. You really gave like a 1.5 minute explanation, like, okay, we all know that Geula is a confusing topic. It basically means brrr, and now we're going to split you up, and here's the task. So I feel like that should have been expanded to what you and Aaron learned each from your own discussions with different reform rabbis. The method was great. The skits. I thought that. Which group first? See, of course. I thought that it would have been good for the rest of the groups to see the quotation that is being presented. Like perhaps on the board, write it in big letters or post it on a paper because they read it out or sometimes they acted it out, but it wasn't clear like what's the sentence. And so we weren't able to it didn't sink into our understanding like which part of that specific principle were they acting out. It was confusing. Um, or to either to like write it down on the board or to just hand out to each group. This is they're doing this part of the. Let me see if I can phrase myself more clearly. If each person from the very beginning were to get the full principle
And then just like a highlighted section.
exactly, and then highlight the section that they're doing, then it would have been, I think, clearer what's being presented. There was a serious quiet problem during this section, like a lot of noise, and I think that crowd control could be, and chatter basically, could be dealt with if you were to make a very simple change in setting. Like people were sitting on the floor and on the chairs and in groups. So like if you were to get them all to sit in rows with chairs, then like the physical atmosphere would have made it very clear that there's a stage and a crowd. And I know that you prefer the informalness, but that engages chatter.
Well, actually, I did kind of want to create like a stricter audience structure, but like the group was being really difficult. Like beforehand, they just didn't like no one really wanted to even come in, let alone move off their chairs. They repeatedly asked me to like form circles and audiences, and it just didn't really.
My feedback to you is to be more dominant. You're the madrich. You are the source of authority right now, and these people respect you. They've known you for half a year. You shouldn't feel embarrassed or shy to put your foot down and insist and say, I need you, for the sake of the success of my peula, to sit in the order that I've decided. and this is the same authority that you should have in front of chanichim as well. You can foresee that it'll have a negative consequence on your peula. It's better for their own sake if they follow your instructions. Okay? At the end of all the skits, you repeated the full principle. And I thought that was very good. Again, I think it would have been better if we all had it in our hands to read, because when someone reads something out to you, you can't necessarily follow. Some people are better when they read it at their own pace. So that would have been my suggestion. But basically, in general, your trigger was excellent. It was good, especially because it enabled you, I don't think you had a chance to, but in potential, to use parts of the skits later on in your peula. Like, to say, you guys remember the misconception that we all have about what is Geulah that group number 2 did? Well, actually, da-da-da-da-da. It would have been, like, there was good material to work with. So I thought your trigger was excellent. Okay, now for the meat.
Actually kind of planned to do something a bit like that, but the timing.
Yeah, the timing. You guys ran out of time, and that's okay that you ran out of time, because it just meant that it was an even better peula than you thought. There was so much more to do, more to talk about. The group was very engaged. So, okay, now for the meat. I loved your text page. Loved it. I do think that it would have been better to make it double-sided. I think that when you receive a piece of paper like this, it's unattractive. It's too much information. Even if you were to, like, split the text and it would have been the same amount of text, the fact that it's a page filled with letters and words, it's just intimidating for some people.
I get that. I think a lot of people kind of just looked at it and thought, whoa.
Yeah, whoa, it's whoa.
Yeah.
But okay, and another thing is that each text requires, no matter how old your participants are, leading questions. Very important. I know that you didn't want to give questions because it's leading, and if there's a chevruta that's strong enough to lead themselves, then the questions would be confining. I understand that. Aval, it's necessary for the sake of if you get stuck or if no one's taking the lead within a chevruta. What you could have done is say, we've suggested some questions. They are absolutely not necessary. If you have the ability to guide yourselves, ignore our questions and take the text wherever you want. But we've placed questions for each text here just in case they help you, like, create a discussion within your chevrutot. Beseder? Every text study, no matter what age, always good to put in the text leading questions. Unless you're there for the whole study session, and then you don't have to write it down because you can provide it yourselves. But in a situation like this where you're two people on, I don't know, a bunch of different groups, then you need the leading questions for their own sake.
I think it was quite helpful for that stuff around for that. But
Yeah. It was very good, but still, I'm insisting on this, that leading questions would have been helpful. Your choice of texts were excellent. I don't know how you got them, but they were really excellent choices of texts. Like, wow. I don't think I would have been able to get Herman Cohen. This is like philosophical and the Miami platform and the Pittsburgh platform. This is great stuff. Excellent.
I did have a bit of help from behind.
Good.
Also a
Good.
lot of Google books.
Also good. I'm really impressed. And the selection from Aleinu, I loved it. And I also think it was good that you put in the Orthodox perspective. I would have preferred if you would have called it traditional definition instead of Orthodox, because I don't want to give Orthodoxy credit. Orthodoxy is just as young as the Reform movement is. They're 200 years old, so are we. They don't deserve to be considered the original Judaism. They're not, in my opinion. The word traditional does give, respect to a tradition that Reform Judaism has taken the liberty of seeing as authoritative, and we're branching off of that.
Okay.
Okay. reflection. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Possibly the last part when we're kind of looking through the
It was
sheet.
this? Did people do this on their own first?
Yeah, we gave those out to people to kind of like fill in on their own. That was kind of difficult because like some people were just like chatting outside. That was bad.
Okay, so I wrote
Bit of
that
miscommunication.
it was great, but people didn't take it seriously. A lot of people, and there was nothing else you could do about this except for go up to them individually and see like, hi, why aren't you filling out the paper? So my suggestion for you, especially to save on time, was to keep the speed dating. It was an excellent method, to keep the speed dating, but not to let anyone fill this out independently, but rather say, okay, whoever your partner is, whoever's in front of you, now you need to talk about what do you, like G, but without them having this paper. Like basically you're just gonna say the topic of discussion and they're gonna speed date. And then you would have saved time and you still would have had the chance for like reflection, except it would have been not individual reflection, but like dialogue reflection. Do you understand my suggestion?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I was also wondering if you might be a good idea to do the speed dating with the sheet at the same time, ask me to kind of like talk about the questions and kind of try and fill out and make notes on what exactly conclusions they came to in that respect.
Okay. True, except it turns into a worksheet that no one will keep. And if the point is for just to have a discussion, then it doesn't need to be written down. You can write the question on the board if you need clarifications and you don't want people to raise their hand in the middle of a speed date. You write the question on the board, and that's what you're going to talk about now. And then you switch dates. However, this enabled information to come from within. Again, there was no information from you or from Rio. What is Geulah? Like that was a challenge you didn't deal with. To tell them what is Geulah. You gave them texts and you let them discuss for themselves what it is, but there was no bottom line from the two of you, which I understand is a mixture of we don't want to dictate and we're not sure ourselves, a mixture of that, and a mixture of like it's over our heads to give a session on Geulah within an hour and 15 minutes. So we're not even gonna attempt to like to do a frontal lecture on what it is. We're just going to basically you enabled a discussion, but there was no you didn't dictate from above anything, and I think that that's a shame because there was a need, there was a will from the group that someone like fill in this gap of what it is. However, you triggered curiosity, you triggered a thirst to fill our knowledge with what it is, and those of us from the group that care will go and figure it out on our own. So you still achieved all the goals you set for yourself in the Pura. So I'm very proud of you still, and I'm just saying that a bit more of a frontal aspect, even if it was 5 minutes at the beginning or at the end, of Maza Geulah really would have been helpful for the group.
Okay.
Your final Sikum words were incredibly inspiring. I really, really liked the way you ended it. Even though I was sad that Rio didn't add anything more because I wanted to hear both voices, any additional word would have been pointless. You ended it so well that there was no need for anything more to be added. And that's how I'm going to end this feedback session. I'm going to end it with the word inspiring. I loved your Pula. It was an excellent way to end all of our Yemei Kumot, and I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of you both.
Thank you.
Cheers.